The sun was setting over a ruined city, its orange glow casting long shadows on cracked roads and crumbling buildings. The world had changed, but not for the better. Earth was a place of broken dreams now, where people struggled just to survive. Centuries ago, things were different. Back then, there was hope. Hope in the form of a group called the Exodus Collective. They were scientists, engineers, and visionaries who promised to find a new home for humanity among the stars. When they left Earth on their massive starship, the Horizon Asterisk, everyone watched with bated breath, praying they would return one day with solutions to save the planet. But they never came back. At least, that's what most people thought. Daniel Hayes sat alone in his small apartment, staring at a computer screen filled with lines of data. He was a historian by trade, though these days, history felt more like a sad reminder of what humanity had lost. His wife, Rachel Monroe, was in the next room, grading papers from her students. She taught basic math and science to children in the community, trying to give them some sense of normalcy in an increasingly chaotic world. Life wasn't easy for either of them, but they did their best to keep moving forward. Tonight, however, something unusual caught Daniel's attention. For weeks, he'd been analyzing old satellite signals, searching for anything that might tell him more about the Exodus Collective. Most of it was static or fragments of irrelevant information. But tonight, something was different. A faint signal appeared amidst the noise, repeating the same phrase over and over again. "We are returning." Daniel leaned closer, his heart pounding. Could it really be them? Was this proof that the Exodus Collective was still out there, alive and coming back? He replayed the message several times, making sure it wasn't a glitch or a trick of the equipment. It wasn't. The signal was real, and it was strong enough to pinpoint its origin, somewhere near the edge of the galaxy. He couldn't contain his excitement. Grabbing his coat, he rushed to the local community center, where a few other curious minds often gathered to discuss theories about the past. When he burst through the door, everyone turned to look at him. "I found something," Daniel said breathlessly, holding up his tablet. "It's them, the Exodus Collective. They're coming back." The room fell silent. Some looked skeptical, while others exchanged nervous glances. Word spread quickly after that. Within hours, the entire neighborhood knew about the signal. By morning, it had reached the ears of government officials around the globe. News outlets buzzed with speculation. Were the travelers bringing help, or had they become something else entirely during their time away? Rachel tried to stay calm, but she could see the worry growing in Daniel's eyes. "What if they don't want to help us?" she asked quietly one evening as they sat together on their worn-out couch. Daniel hesitated before answering. "Then we'll deal with it when the time comes," he said firmly. "But for now, we can't ignore this. If they've been gone all this time, imagine what they've learned. Imagine the technology they might have developed." As days passed, preparations began worldwide. Governments scrambled to ready themselves for the unknown visitors. Military forces were put on high alert, and scientists worked tirelessly to decode more of the mysterious signal. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens like Daniel and Rachel waited anxiously, unsure whether the return of the Exodus Collective would bring salvation or doom. Little did anyone know, the truth would be far stranger and far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. End of document. Years passed after the discovery of the signal, and life on Earth continued in its usual struggle. People grew restless, unsure whether to believe the message or dismiss it as a false alarm. Daniel and Rachel tried to focus on their daily routines, but the thought of the Exodus Collective lingered in the back of their minds. Had the travelers truly abandoned humanity, or were they preparing for something bigger? Then, one night, everything changed. The skies above Earth lit up with an unnatural glow. A massive object descended silently, casting long shadows across cities and fields alike. It was the Horizon Asterisk, the starship that had vanished centuries ago. But this wasn't the same vessel people remembered from history books. The ship's sleek, metallic surface shimmered with an otherworldly light, and its design looked far beyond anything humanity could create today. It hovered motionless above the planet, radiating power and mystery. Governments around the world scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings were held, and military forces prepared for the worst. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens gathered outside, staring up at the sky in awe and fear. Daniel stood on his rooftop, binoculars in hand, watching as small crafts detached from the main ship and began descending toward Earth. The first group of travelers landed in what used to be New York City, now a crumbling ruin overgrown with vegetation. Leading them was Ethan Carter, a tall man with sharp features and an air of quiet authority. Beside him was Mia Bennett, a woman whose calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the tension surrounding her. Both wore simple yet futuristic suits that seemed to shimmer faintly under the moonlight. Ethan stepped forward and addressed the crowd through a device that projected his voice clearly. "We are the Exodus Collective," he said, his tone firm but calm. "You believed we were gone. You believed we failed. But we have returned stronger than ever, and we will not tolerate the mistakes of your past." His words sent shockwaves through the gathered crowd. Some cheered, believing the travelers had come to save them. Others whispered nervously, wondering what kind of mistakes Ethan referred to. Daniel listened intently, his heart racing. There was something unsettling about the way Ethan spoke, as if he viewed humanity as inferior. Over the next few days, the Exodus Collective revealed glimpses of their advanced technology. They demonstrated devices capable of purifying toxic water instantly, machines that generated unlimited energy, and even tools that could repair damaged ecosystems. These marvels left people in awe, but they came with strict conditions. Ethan demanded complete control over Earth's governments, insisting that humanity could no longer govern itself responsibly. General Connor Riley, head of the United Defense Coalition, strongly opposed this idea. "Giving up our freedom is not the answer," he argued during a televised debate. "How do we know their intentions are pure? What guarantees do we have that they won't abuse their power?" Rachel watched the debates unfold on their old television set, frowning. "He has a point," she said to Daniel. "What happens if they decide they don't like how we live? Will they force us to change?" Daniel didn't reply immediately. He was too busy studying footage of the travelers. Something about them felt off. Their movements were precise, almost mechanical. Even their expressions seemed strangely controlled, as though they weren't fully human anymore. As tensions rose, Daniel discovered something disturbing while reviewing old satellite data. Hidden within the signals from Asterisk, the Horizon Asterisk were fragments of genetic information, evidence suggesting the travelers had altered their biology during their journey. They had merged their minds with artificial intelligence, enhancing their abilities, but losing parts of their humanity in the process. This revelation terrified him. If the Exodus Collective wasn't entirely human anymore, what did that mean for Earth's future? Would they see humans as equals, or as relics of a primitive past? One evening, Rachel found Daniel sitting alone in his study, staring at the computer screen. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said softly. "I think we're dealing with something worse than ghosts," Daniel replied, his voice heavy with concern. "They're not just visitors, Rachel. They're something entirely new, and I don't think they're here to help us." Outside, the lights of Asterisk, the Horizon Asterisk, still glowed brightly in the night sky, a constant reminder of the unknown future ahead. Asterisk, asterisk, end of document, asterisk, asterisk. The Exodus Collective wasted no time establishing their presence on Earth. They set up a temporary base in the ruins of an old city, using their advanced technology to transform the crumbling structures into something sleek and futuristic overnight. The sight of glowing walls and floating platforms left many people in awe, but it also made others uneasy. It was clear that the travelers had abilities far beyond anything humanity could achieve. Ethan Carter and Mia Bennett became the faces of the collective. Ethan spoke often, his voice calm yet commanding, as he explained their plans for Earth. He insisted that humanity's chaotic ways needed to end, that only through strict control could the planet be saved. "We have seen the mistakes of your past," he said during one broadcast. "Wars, pollution, greed. They nearly destroyed this world. We will not allow it to happen again." Mia, on the other hand, seemed quieter, more reserved. While Ethan gave speeches, she worked behind the scenes, overseeing the deployment of their technology. She spent hours explaining how their machines could heal diseases, grow food in barren lands, and even restore damaged ecosystems. Many people admired her for her kindness and patience, but there were moments when she appeared distant, as if carrying a heavy burden. Daniel Hayes couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The more he studied the collective, the more convinced he became that they weren't just here to help. Their demands for complete control over Earth's governments felt extreme, almost tyrannical. And then there were the subtle changes in their behavior, the way they moved with unnatural precision, the way their eyes seemed to glow faintly in the dark. One evening, Daniel decided to take a risk. He approached Mia after one of her demonstrations, pretending to ask questions about their technology. At first, she answered politely, explaining how their machines worked. But when he asked about the changes to their biology, her expression shifted. For a brief moment, she looked uncertain, almost scared. "Why did you do it?" Daniel asked softly. "Why did you change yourselves?" Mia hesitated before responding. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," she admitted quietly. "We thought we were evolving, becoming better. But now," she trailed off, glancing around nervously. "Not everyone agrees with Ethan's plans. Some of us believe there's still hope for humanity, for all of us to work together." Her words surprised Daniel. Until now, he had assumed the collective was united in its mission. But Mia's confession suggested otherwise. There were cracks in their facade, divisions within their ranks. Sensing an opportunity, Daniel pressed further. "Is there a way to stop him?" he asked. "If you don't agree with what he's doing, why not speak out?" Mia shook her head. "It's not that simple. Ethan, he's changed. None of us are the same as we were before, but he's gone too far. He sees humans as flawed, disposable. If anyone opposes him, they're silenced." Before she could say more, another member of the collective approached, and Mia quickly excused herself. As she walked away, Daniel noticed the faint shimmer of tears in her eyes. Whatever internal conflict she was facing, it was tearing her apart. That night, Daniel shared what he had learned with Rachel. "They're not as united as they seem," he told her. "Mia might be willing to help us, if we can figure out how." Rachel frowned, her arms crossed tight like runes. The tension between Earth's people and the Exodus Collective reached a breaking point. General Connor Riley, head of the United Defense Coalition, refused to back down. He believed that surrendering control to the collective would only lead to disaster. Secretly, he began gathering allies, soldiers, scientists, and ordinary citizens who shared his concerns. Among them were Daniel and Rachel Hayes, who had become key figures in the growing resistance. Daniel knew they couldn't fight the collective directly. Their weapons were outdated, and the Traveler's technology was far superior. But Mia's confession gave him hope. If there were dissenters within the collective, maybe they could exploit that division. Rachel, however, wasn't so sure. "Even if Mia wants to help us, how do we know we can trust her?" Rachel asked one evening as they sat in their dimly lit kitchen. "What if this is all a trick?" "I don't think it is," Daniel replied. She looked scared, Rachel, like she's trapped and doesn't know what to do. "We have to try." Reluctantly, Rachel agreed. The next day, Daniel arranged a secret meeting with Mia outside the collective's base. She arrived alone, her face pale but determined. "You're taking a big risk coming here," Daniel said as they stood in the shadows of an abandoned building. "I didn't have a choice," Mia admitted. "Ethan's plan, it's wrong. He doesn't just want to guide humanity. He wants to replace it. He sees humans as weak, flawed. And now, He's willing to do whatever it takes to reshape the world in his image. Daniel nodded. Is there a way to stop him? Something we can use against their technology? Mia hesitated before answering. There's a failsafe, a system designed to disable our technology temporarily. It was created in case something went wrong during our journey. But activating it won't be easy. It's located deep inside the base, in a heavily guarded area. Can you get us in? Daniel asked. Mia shook her head. Not without risking my life. But I can give you the access codes and a map of the facility. After that, you'll be on your own. Before leaving, she handed Daniel a small data chip. Be careful, she warned. If Ethan finds out, none of us will survive. With Mia's help, Daniel and the Resistance began planning their mission. They recruited a small team, including General Riley, who insisted on leading the operation. This might be our only chance, he said. We can't let fear stop us. The night of the raid, the group moved silently through the ruins, avoiding patrols of drones and guards. The collective's base loomed ahead, its glowing walls piercing the darkness. Using Maya's map, they found a hidden entrance and slipped inside. The interior was unlike anything they had ever seen. Floating platforms carried supplies, and machines hummed with energy. The air smelled metallic, and the walls pulsed faintly, as if alive. As they moved deeper into the facility, they encountered their first obstacle, a group of guards. General Riley signaled for silence, and the team managed to take them down without alerting others. Finally, they'd reached the central control room. Inside, rows of monitors displayed complex data streams, and a large console stood at the center. This was where the failsafe was located. But as they approached, a voice echoed through the room. I knew you'd come, Ethan said, stepping out from the shadows. His eyes glowed faintly, and his expression was cold. You think you can stop me? You're nothing but relics of a dying age. Daniel stepped forward, clutching the data chip. We're not giving up, he said firmly. Your vision isn't the future we want. Ethan smirked. Then you'll die trying to stop it. Before he could act, Mia appeared behind him, a weapon in her hand. No, she said, her voice trembling. It ends here. For a moment, everything froze. Then chaos erupted as the final battle began. ***end of document ***. The control room erupted into chaos. Mia's sudden appearance caught everyone off guard, including Ethan. For a moment, he just stared at her, his glowing eyes narrowing in disbelief. You betrayed me, he said, his voice low and dangerous. I didn't have a choice, Maya replied, her hand trembling as she held the weapon. What you're doing, it's wrong. You're not saving humanity. You're destroying it. Ethan's expression hardened. Without warning, he lunged toward her, moving faster than anyone thought possible. But Mia was ready. She fired the weapon, hitting him square in the chest. The blast sent him stumbling backward, but he didn't fall. Instead, he let out a low growl, his body flickering with strange energy. You don't understand, Ethan snarled, his voice distorted. This is evolution. Humanity can't survive without us. We've become something greater, something perfect. Daniel seized the moment of distraction. He rushed to the console and inserted the data chip Mia had given him. The screens around the room lit up with streams of code as the failsafe began to activate. Alarms blared, and red lights flashed throughout the facility. You're too late, Ethan hissed, turning his attention back to Daniel. His movements were jerky now, almost mechanical, as if his body was struggling to keep up with his mind. Even if you disable our systems, you'll never undo what we've become. General Riley stepped forward, blocking Ethan's path. Maybe not, Riley said firmly, raising his weapon. But we'll make sure you don't hurt anyone else. Before Ethan could react, Riley fired. The shot hit its mark, and Ethan collapsed to the ground, his body convulsing. But even as he lay there, his lips curled into a faint smile. This isn't over, he whispered before going still. Meanwhile, the failsafe continued to run its course. The hum of the machines grew louder, and the glowing walls of the base began to dim. One by one, the collective's advanced systems started shutting down. Outside, drones fell from the sky, and patrols of guards froze in place, their bodies unable to function without the technology that sustained them. Mia watched in silence, tears streaming down her face. She knew what this meant, not just for Ethan, but for all of them. The failsafe wasn't just disabling the collective's tools, it was severing their connection to the artificial intelligence that had become a part of them. Without it, they would weaken, perhaps even die. "We need to leave," Daniel urged, grabbing her arm. "It's not safe here." Mia hesitated, looking back at Ethan's lifeless body. "I should stay," she whispered. "This is my fault." "No," Rachel said, stepping forward. "You helped us. You gave us a chance to fight back. That's enough." Reluctantly, Mia nodded. Together, the group made their way out of the control room, dodging collapsing structures and malfunctioning machines. By the time they reached the surface, the entire base was in disarray. The once gleaming walls were dark and silent, and the air felt heavy with defeat. As they emerged into the night, they were greeted by cheers from the resistance fighters who had been waiting outside. Word of their success spread quickly, and soon the entire area was alive with celebration. But Daniel and Rachel knew the victory was bittersweet. The collective's return had been a reminder of humanity's flaws and its potential. Later that night, as they stood together under the stars, Rachel turned to Daniel. "Do you think we've really stopped them?" "For now," Daniel replied, his voice quiet. "But we can't forget what happened. If we do, we might end up right back where we started." Rachel nodded, leaning against him. In the distance, the dark silhouette of the collective's base loomed like a ghost, a reminder of how close they had come to losing everything. End of document. The days that followed were a mix of relief and sorrow. The failsafe had worked, but its effects were devastating. The members of the Exodus Collective, once proud and powerful, now lay scattered across their darkened base, weakened and dying. Without the artificial intelligence that had become a part of them, their bodies couldn't function properly. Some begged for help, while others simply faded away in silence. Maya stayed with the resistance, torn between guilt and hope. She spent hours tending to the fallen members of her group, trying to ease their suffering. "We thought we were evolving," she said one evening, her voice heavy with regret. "But all we did was lose ourselves." Daniel watched her from a distance, unsure what to say. He wanted to comfort her, but he knew there were no words that could fix what had been broken. Rachel, however, approached Mia and sat beside her. "You tried to do the right thing," Rachel said softly. "That's more than most of them can say." Mia nodded, wiping away tears. "I just hope it's enough." As the collective crumbled, Earth began to heal. The knowledge they had brought back, how to purify water, grow crops in barren lands, and generate clean energy, was shared with humanity. But it came with a warning. General Riley made sure everyone understood the dangers of relying too heavily on technology. "We've been given a second chance," he told the world during a broadcast. "Let's not waste it." Still, not everyone agreed on how to move forward. Some argued that the remaining members of the Exodus Collective should be punished for their actions. Others, like Daniel, believed they deserved compassion. "They were wrong," he said during a meeting with the resistance leaders. "But they were also victims. If we treat them the way they treated us, we're no better than them." In the end, a compromise was reached. Those who surrendered were allowed to live, though under strict supervision. They were given medical care and a chance to reintegrate into society, if they chose to. Many didn't survive the process, their bodies unable to adapt to life without the AI integration. But a few managed to recover, learning to live as ordinary humans again. Ethan Carter was gone, his body buried deep within the ruins of the base. No one mourned him, but his absence left a void. For years, he had been the face of the collective, a symbol of both hope and fear. Now he was just another reminder of humanity's complicated past. As weeks turned into months, Daniel and Rachel found themselves at the center of a new movement. People looked to them for guidance, seeing them as heroes who had stood up to tyranny. But Daniel didn't feel like a hero. He felt like someone who had done what he had to do. One evening, as they walked through the newly restored fields outside their home, Rachel stopped and turned to him. "Do you think we'll ever really recover from all this?" Daniel paused, looking out at the horizon. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I think we have a chance. We've seen what happens when we lose sight of who we are. Maybe now we'll remember." Rachel smiled faintly, taking his hand. "That's something, at least." Far above, the remnants of Asterisk, the horizon Asterisk drifted silently through space, a ghost of the past. It served as a reminder of humanity's mistakes, but also of its resilience. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but for the first time in years, there was hope. Asterisk asterisk end of document asterisk asterisk. Years passed, and Earth began to change in ways no one had expected. The technologies left behind by the Exodus Collective were carefully studied and used wisely. Rivers once polluted became clean again, forests grew where deserts had taken over, and cities slowly rebuilt themselves with sustainable designs. It wasn't perfect. There were still challenges, but for the first time in generations, people felt hopeful about the future. Daniel and Rachel found themselves playing important roles in this new world. Daniel became a teacher, sharing the lessons he had learned from the rise and fall of the Exodus Collective. He spoke not just about their advanced technology, but also about their mistakes. They thought they could fix everything by becoming something else, he often told his students. But real progress comes from understanding who we are, not running away from it. Rachel worked alongside him, helping communities rebuild schools and hospitals. Together, they traveled across the country, meeting people who were working hard to create a better life for themselves and their children. Everywhere they went, they saw signs of renewal. Fields once barren now bloomed with crops, and towns once abandoned were alive with laughter and activity. The remaining members of the Exodus Collective who had survived the failsafe lived quiet lives, blending into society as best they could. Some struggled to adapt, haunted by memories of what they had lost. Others embraced their second chance, finding peace in simple things like planting gardens or teaching children how to read. Mia was among them. After months of healing, she chose to stay on Earth, determined to make amends for her role in Ethan's plans. She often visited Daniel and Rachel, grateful for their friendship and guidance. One day, Daniel stood atop a hill overlooking the restored landscape. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Beside him, Rachel placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's beautiful," she said softly, gazing at the fields below. "It is," Daniel agreed, smiling. "And it's ours, to protect, this time." Rachel nodded, her eyes thoughtful. "Do you think we'll ever see another ship like Asterisk, the Horizon Asterisk?" "Maybe," Daniel replied. "But if we do, I hope we're ready. Not with weapons or shields, but with wisdom. We've learned that power isn't about controlling others. It's about helping each other grow." As they stood there, watching the last rays of sunlight disappear behind the horizon, they felt a sense of calm they hadn't known before. The scars of the past would always remain, but they were reminders, not of failure, but of resilience. Far above, the remnants of Asterisk, the horizon Asterisk continued its silent drift through space. It was a relic of humanity's ambition, a symbol of both its greatest triumphs and its deepest flaws. But down on Earth, life moved forward. People built homes, planted trees, and dreamed of futures filled with possibility. In the years to come, stories of the Exodus Collective would be told around campfires and in classrooms. They would serve as cautionary tales, yes, but also as testaments to humanity's ability to endure. The lesson was clear. No matter how far technology advanced or how desperate circumstances became, losing sight of what made them human was never worth the cost. As Daniel and Rachel walked back toward their home, hand in hand, they knew the journey was far from over. Humanity still had much to learn, much to build, and much to heal. But for the first time in a long time, they believed it was possible. "We did it," Rachel said quietly, glancing up at Daniel. "We stopped them." Daniel smiled, squeezing her hand. "Yeah, but this isn't the end. It's just the beginning." And with that, they stepped into the warm glow of their house, ready to face whatever tomorrow might bring. **End of document**.